The crystal balls shattered against my booth wall the same moment he told me he'd slept with my sister. Tiny shards caught the afternoon sunlight, creating a kaleidoscope of betrayal across my tarot cards. People walking along Dauphin Street stopped to stare, their whispers barely audible over Mobile's summer cicadas. "Jesus, Lena, calm down," Trent said, hands raised defensively. "It meant nothing. We were drunk, and—" "Get out." My voice was eerily steady despite the storm raging inside me. The air was thick with humidity and the cloying scent of magnolias from my incense burner, a smell I'd never be able to stomach again. This was supposed to be my sanctuary. My little fortune-telling booth had stood at this corner of Cathedral Square for 3 years now, draped in purple velvet and strung with twinkling fairy lights. A place where I read futures, not had mine obliterated. Trent lingered, shifting his weight from one foot to another. "Babe, seriously, your sister came on to me. What was I supposed to do?" I gathered the scattered tarot cards with trembling fingers. I said, "Leave." His footsteps finally retreated, and I sank into my chair, knuckles white against the worn wooden table. A flash of blonde caught my eye. A woman had stopped outside my booth, peering in with undisguised curiosity. Great. A witness to my public humiliation. "We're closed," I called out, voice cracking. She stepped forward anyway, a leather messenger bag slung across her body. "Actually, I was hoping for a reading." Her blue eyes were sharp, assessing, lacking the usual dreamy curiosity of my clients. "Like I said, we're closed. There are plenty of other fortune tellers in Mobile. But I specifically need to see you, Lena Brown." She produced a business card. "Scarlet Ward, Mobile Chronicle. I'm doing a piece on... I don't do interviews." I busied myself sweeping glass fragments into a dustpan. The tinkling sounds oddly musical against my ragged breathing. "It's a feature on spiritual entrepreneurs in the downtown district." Her voice softened slightly. "Listen, I can see this is a bad time. Maybe I could buy you a coffee instead? You look like you could use one." I laughed bitterly. "Let me guess. You're one of those skeptics who wants to debunk my scam, right?" Something shifted in her expression, surprise perhaps. "Actually, I'm more interested in why people seek meaning in the mystic. Community psychology, if you will." I should have sent her away. I should have closed up shop and gone home to curse Trent's name and burn everything my sister had ever given me. Instead, I found myself nodding, trapped in the strange limbo that follows when your life cracks open. "Fine. Café Royal. 20 minutes. As she left, I noticed her notebook. She'd already been taking notes about my booth, about me, before ever introducing herself. And there, in neat handwriting at the top of the page, "Fortune tellers, predators, or prey." I locked up my booth, the bells on the door jangling their familiar goodbye. The cards I'd gathered from the floor burned hot in my pocket: death, the tower, the lovers reversed. A warning I should have seen coming weeks ago. I didn't know then that meeting Scarlet Ward would change everything. I couldn't have predicted how those skeptical blue eyes would eventually see through every defense I'd built. The irony wasn't lost on me even then. A fortune teller blindsided by her own future. Café Royal buzzed with afternoon energy. Laptops clicking, espresso machines hissing, conversations layered like instruments in an orchestra. I chose a corner table, back to the wall, a habit from childhood when I needed to see danger coming. Scarlet Ward arrived precisely on time, notebook already open before she'd fully settled into her chair. "Mind if I record this?" "I mind very much," I said, wrapping my hands around the mug of tea I'd already ordered. "You still haven't convinced me this isn't an ambush." She tucked away her phone with a slight frown. "Fair enough. Let's start over. What drew you to fortune-telling?" For the next hour, I navigated her questions like landmines. She was good, really good, at making me feel heard, while subtly challenging everything I believed. The conversation shifted when she mentioned the book club. "You're in Verity Jackson's feminist literature group?" I asked, surprised. 3 months now. "You?" "Just joined last week. This month's pick is fascinating, the intersection of spirituality and feminism through history." Her eyes lit up as she spoke, passion replacing professional detachment. "Though I find the author romanticizes witchcraft trials as some feminist revolution, which seems historically inaccurate." "You've completely missed the metaphor," I said before I could stop myself. She's using witch trials to illustrate how female intuition has been systematically demonized by patriarchal structures. Scarlett's eyebrow arched. Intuition? Or superstition marketed as intuition? The debate that followed was electric. We'd abandoned her interview entirely, arguing about authorial intent and historical context while our coffees grew cold. When thunder cracked outside, neither of us had noticed the darkening sky. "Damn," she muttered, glancing at the sudden downpour. I walked here. "Book club's tomorrow night. Seems we'll have plenty more to debate," I said, gathering my things. "You're seriously going? After everything with your boyfriend today?" The journalist slipped out before she could catch herself. I froze. "You were watching me before the crystal ball incident?" Her cheeks flushed. "Professional observation. Invasive is what it is." I stood abruptly. "And he's my ex as of 2 hours ago." "I'm sorry," she said, actually looking it. For the record, he seemed like an ass. The rain hammered against the windows as if demanding entrance. Neither of us moved toward the door. "I have an umbrella," she finally offered. "We could share." Under that small shelter, our shoulders touched as we navigated puddles down Dauphin Street. The scent of rain-soaked asphalt mixed with her perfume, something citrusy and expensive. "Let me make it up to you," she said suddenly. "Come to my place. I have dry clothes, wine, and you look like you could use a friend right now." "We're not friends," I reminded her. "Temporary allies in a meteorological crisis, then." Against my better judgment, I followed her to a renovated loft 3 blocks away. Her apartment was minimalist, clean lines, neutral colors, bookshelves organized by subject. The only chaos was a desk covered in newspaper clippings and research notes. "I need to know what that article's really about," I said, accepting the oversized sweater she offered. "It's evolved," she admitted. "Originally, debunking. Now, I'm not entirely sure." After changing, I noticed her eyeing my tarot deck peeking from my bag. "Curious?" I asked. "Professionally skeptical," she corrected. "Let me read you." I spread the cards between us on her coffee table, my fingers still smelling faintly of magnolia incense. No recording, no notes, just you and the cards. She hesitated before nodding. I shuffled, letting her cut the deck. The cards fell, the High Priestess. The Tower. 2 of Cups. Her face remained impassive as I explained each one, until I mentioned a childhood trauma involving water. Her eyes widened. "Lucky guess," she whispered, but her voice trembled slightly. When our fingers accidentally touched across the table, something electric passed between us. I pulled back too quickly, scattering the remaining cards. What I didn't tell her was the final card I glimpsed as it fell, the Lovers, upright this time. "Some readings were better kept to yourself." "You want me to what?" I nearly knocked over my espresso at Café Royal, our unofficial meeting spot for the past week. Scarlett slid her phone across the table, showing me an email from her editor. "Shadow you for a full day. See how the readings actually work." Her voice lowered. "The article's due next week." I thought we were past the whole expose the fraud angle. I'd been naive enough to think our book club discussions and post-thunderstorm connection meant something. "It's complicated," she sighed, running her fingers through her blonde hair. "My editor expects something specific. I'm trying to find middle ground." Outside, Mobile's humidity pressed against the windows like a desperate ghost. Inside, the air conditioning raised goosebumps on my arms, or maybe it was something else entirely. "Fine," I finally said. "Tomorrow. But you observe only. No interfering, no questions during readings." The next morning, Scarlett arrived at my booth wearing a structured blazer that made her look more like an auditor than a journalist. I'd dressed purposefully in my most professional outfit, a deep purple dress with silver embroidery that my clients expected from their mystic guide. "Remember," I whispered as my first appointment approached, "you're just a shadow." Mrs. Clarkson, a grieving widow in her 60s, entered with her usual hesitancy. She stopped when she noticed Scarlett. "An observer," I explained. "She can wait outside if you prefer." "No, it's fine, dear." Mrs. Clarkson settled into her chair. "As long as she believes." I caught Scarlett's slight eye roll and shot her a warning glance. The reading unfolded as they always did, the cards revealing Mrs. Clarkson's continued grief but also her gradual healing. When I mentioned her husband's pocket watch, something I'd seen in a genuine flash of intuition months ago, Mrs. Clarkson wiped away tears. "He's still with you," I said gently. The watch stopping at wasn't coincidence. After she left, Scarlett remained uncharacteristically quiet. 4 more clients followed, a nervous college student, a businessman at a crossroads, a pregnant woman concerned about her marriage, and a young man haunted by his past. Between appointments, Scarlett whispered, "You're not what I expected." Meaning? "You actually believe you're helping them." "I am helping them." By late afternoon, something had shifted in Scarlett's demeanor. Her note-taking slowed, her attention focused less on exposing techniques and more on the raw emotions of each interaction. "Last one," I announced as the sun began its descent. "Then you'll have plenty for your hit piece." "Lena," she started, but my phone buzzed with a news alert. "Women's rights protest at Government Plaza," I read. Now that would make an interesting article. 20 minutes later, we stood at the edge of the gathering crowd. Signs demanding reproductive freedom waved like battle flags in the golden hour light. The energy was electric, purposeful. "I didn't peg you for an activist," Scarlett said, snapping photos with her phone. "There's a lot you don't know about me." The charged atmosphere was infectious. "My grandmother was arrested protesting for equal pay in 1972. Mine marched with Gloria Steinem," Scarlett countered, a genuine smile breaking through her professional facade. We edged closer to the speaker's platform, the crowd pressing us together. Her shoulder against mine felt strangely right. Then came the shouts, the police megaphones, the crowd surging backward. "They're blocking the courthouse entrance," someone yelled. Suddenly, officers in riot gear created a perimeter. I grabbed Scarlett's hand instinctively as people pushed past us. "Press! I'm press!" she shouted, fumbling for her credentials. An officer grabbed my arm. "You're the organizers. We've got your photos from social media." "What? No. We just..." Another officer seized Scarlett despite her press badge. "Both of you, against the wall." The cold metal of handcuffs bit into my wrists as they recited our rights. Scarlett's eyes met mine, wide with disbelief. "Still think I'm helping people?" I asked bitterly as they led us toward a waiting police van. "Because right now, I'm thinking your skepticism might be justified. The cards definitely didn't show me getting arrested today." "For what it's worth," Scarlett whispered as they pushed us inside, "I was going to tell you I'm changing the focus of my article." The van doors slammed shut, sealing us in darkness together. The holding cell smelled like industrial cleaner and desperation. A single flickering fluorescent light cast everyone in sickly pallor. 4 walls of concrete, 1 metal bench, and 6 women, mostly protesters plus Scarlett and me. "Some journalist luck," Scarlett muttered, massaging her wrists where the handcuffs had bitten in. "First Amendment violation is what this is. At least your press pass got us separated from the general holding area," I said. "Small mercies." We sat side by side on the cold bench, shoulders touching from necessity rather than choice. The cell was barely 10 feet square. 3 other women huddled together on the floor, whispering about bail funds. A lone protester slept curled in the corner, using her jean jacket as a pillow. "This is not how I plan to spend my evening," I sighed, letting my head thump back against the wall. "What would your cards have suggested instead?" There was no mockery in Scarlett's voice, just genuine curiosity. "Probably a hot bath and ice cream. Definitely not prison chic." I gestured to our disheveled appearances. The fluorescent light buzzed incessantly above us, occasionally surging brighter before dimming again. Hours crawled by. The activists were called out one by one as their bail was posted, until only Scarlett and I remained. "Our lawyer should be here soon," she said. "My editor's handling it." "You called your editor before your family?" "Work is family." She rubbed her eyes, smearing what remained of her makeup. "Dad died when I was 12. Mom remarried and moved to Seattle. We exchanged birthday cards." Her candor surprised me. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I chose my path." She turned slightly to face me. "What about you? No concerned boyfriend calling?" "Ex-boyfriend," I corrected. "Remember the crystal ball incident? And my family's complicated. Mom thinks my profession is embarrassing. Dad left when I was 8. "The water trauma," she whispered, recalling my reading. "He drowned. Lake Pontchartrain. Storm came up suddenly. Her fingers found mine in the dim light, a brief squeeze of understanding. That's what I meant about your reading. You mentioned water and loss. It wasn't a lucky guess, was it? For once, I didn't have a clever defense of my abilities. Sometimes I just know things. I can't explain it. Silence settled between us, not uncomfortable but weighted with unspoken thoughts. The cell felt smaller by the minute, the air thicker. "Can I ask you something personal?" Scarlett finally said. "We're in jail together. I think we're past formalities. Why fortune-telling? With your intuition, you could have been a therapist, counselor, something with credentials." I laughed softly. Credentials. That's such a you perspective. What's that supposed to mean? You need everything proven, documented, verified. Some things just are, Scarlett. Like what? Like the way your pulse jumps when our hands touch. I hadn't meant to say it aloud, but exhaustion had lowered my filters. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she shifted closer, our thighs now pressed together on the narrow bench. "Maybe that's just human contact," she whispered, though we both knew it wasn't. Maybe. I found myself staring at her lips, slightly chapped from the dry cell air. The moment stretched between us, taut as a tightrope. She leaned in almost imperceptibly, and I felt myself doing the same. Our breath mingled in the small space between us. When her lips finally touched mine, it was gentle, questioning. My hand found her cheek, feeling the softness of her skin against my palm. The kiss deepened, her fingers tangling in my hair, pulling me closer. The cell door clanged open. We jumped apart like guilty teenagers. "Brown and Ward," announced an officer. "Your lawyer's here, charges dropped." In the fluorescent glare, Scarlett's flushed cheeks and slightly swollen lips were impossible to hide. The officer raised an eyebrow but said nothing. We gathered ourselves, avoiding eye contact as we followed him down the corridor. Neither of us mentioned what had happened. Neither of us had to. Outside, the night air hit us like freedom. A tall woman in an impeccable suit approached, Scarlett's editor, I assumed. "I want that protest story on my desk tomorrow," she said without preamble. Scarlett nodded, professional mask firmly back in place. Of course. Only the slight tremor in her fingers as she accepted her confiscated belongings betrayed any emotion at all. "Do you need a ride home?" she asked me, when her editor stepped away. "I think I need some space," I answered honestly. "To process." She nodded too quickly. "Of course, professional boundaries and all that." I watched her walk away, wondering if I'd imagined the way her lips had fit perfectly against mine. 3 days of silence. 3 days of jumping whenever my phone buzzed, only to find spam emails or messages from clients rescheduling readings. 3 days of reliving that kiss in a holding cell, the softness of Scarlett's lips, the slight catch in her breath when I'd touched her face. I hadn't gone to book club. Couldn't face her there, surrounded by others who might notice whatever this was between us. My small apartment above my fortune-telling shop felt claustrophobic. I'd tried reading my own cards multiple times, but kept drawing the tower, upheaval, revelation, change. And the Two of Cups? A card of connection and attraction. The universe wasn't being subtle. A sharp knock at my shop door startled me. It was Sunday, my day off, clearly marked on the sign. Through the beaded curtains, I saw Trent's silhouette. Great. Just what I needed. "Go away," I called through the door. "Lena, please. I've been trying to reach you for days. Nothing to talk about. I brought your things from my place." He held up a small box, "and I want to apologize properly." Sighing, I unlocked the door. Might as well get this over with. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Good. 5 minutes, I said, taking the box without inviting him in. "I saw your article in the Chronicle." He shifted awkwardly on the threshold. "Didn't know you were friends with a reporter." My heart stuttered. "What article?" "The one about fortune tellers, page 3. She mentioned you specifically." I slammed the door in his face and rushed to my laptop. The Chronicle's website loaded painfully slowly, each second stretching my nerves tighter. There it was. "Beyond the Crystal Ball, Finding Truth in Mobile's Mystic Community" by Scarlett Ward. My hands trembled as I clicked. The article wasn't what I'd feared. Instead of an exposé, Scarlett had written a nuanced piece about how fortune tellers provided comfort, perspective, and community connection. She'd described my reading with Mrs. Clarkson in detail, emphasizing the emotional support I'd provided to a grieving widow. While science may question the metaphysical claims she'd written, the psychological benefits of these consultations are undeniable. In an age of disconnection, perhaps we need more spaces where strangers can share their deepest fears and hopes. I read it 3 times, dissecting every word. Not once did she call me a fraud. Not once did she mock my beliefs. Instead, she'd found a middle ground that respected both her skepticism and my practice. My phone rang. Scarlett's name flashed on the screen. "You saw it?" she asked when I answered. "Just now." "Are you angry?" "I'm confused, touched, terrified of what I was feeling." "I don't know what I am. Can I come over? I'd rather talk in person." 20 minutes later, she stood in my apartment, looking as uncertain as I felt. Gone was the confident journalist, replaced by someone whose fingers couldn't stop fidgeting with her bag strap. "I rewrote it," she said. 3 times. "My editor wanted something more sensational, but I couldn't do it." "Why not?" "That was your assignment." She moved to my window, looking down at the street rather than at me. "Because I saw how you help people. Because you saw something in me that I've never told anyone. The water trauma. My father's drowning." She turned, eyes glistening. "How did you know?" "I told you. Sometimes I just know things." We stood on opposite sides of the room, the air between us charged with unspoken words. "I should do a reading," I finally said, needing the familiarity of my cards to steady my nerves. I shuffled my deck with practiced hands, letting Scarlett cut it. The cards fell: strength, the hermit, death. Transformation, I explained. Finding inner power through solitude and letting old versions of yourself die. "And us?" she asked softly. "What do they say about whatever this is?" I hesitated, then placed 3 more cards. The lovers appeared, unmistakable in its meaning. "I think you know." She stepped closer, her perfume wrapping around me like a spell. "I've never felt this way about a woman before." "I have," I admitted. "But never like this." Her hand covered mine on the table. "I'm scared, Lena. The cards show fear too." I pointed to the shadow in the death card. "But also rebirth." When she kissed me this time, there were no prison walls to interrupt us. Her lips found mine with a certainty that belied her words. I pulled her closer, feeling the curves of her body press against mine. Later, tangled in my sheets, her blonde hair fanned across my pillow, I traced the constellations of freckles on her shoulder. "What happens now?" she whispered. I thought of the final card I'd drawn but hadn't shown her, the Tower. Everything was about to change, for better or worse. "I don't need cards to know this will be complicated," I said, pressing my lips to her collarbone. She tilted my chin up to meet her eyes. "Worth it though?" Instead of answering, I kissed her again, letting my body speak what my cards had already predicted. Mobile whispered before it shouted. First came the lingering glances at the farmer's market, when Scarlett's hand brushed mine as we selected peaches. Then the raised eyebrows when we arrived together at book club. By week 3 of whatever we were, relationship seemed too formal, affair too tawdry. The whispers had grown louder. "Ms. Brown, I'm not sure I can continue my readings with you," Mrs. Clarkson said one Tuesday morning, clutching her purse tight against her chest. "Has something happened?" She lowered her voice. "My church group mentioned you've been associating with that reporter woman, the one who writes those liberal pieces." My face burned. "Scarlett is a friend." "Of course, dear." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'll call if I change my mind." She wasn't the only one. 3 more regular clients canceled that week. Each time they danced around their reasons, but I knew. Mobile was progressive for Alabama, but still small enough that people noticed everything. Across town, Scarlett was facing her own scrutiny. "They've reassigned my cultural pieces," she told me over dinner at my apartment. Her fork pushed pasta around without eating it. "My editor says my objectivity is compromised regarding certain community topics." Meaning me. I reached for the wine bottle. Meaning anything they think might be influenced by my personal connections. She covered my hand with hers. I don't regret it, Lena. But I saw worry creasing her forehead. Journalism was her life, her identity. I was just, what exactly? An experiment? A midlife discovery? That night, lying beside her in bed, I traced the curve of her spine with my fingertips. Maybe we should cool things down, I whispered into the darkness. She rolled over, moonlight catching in her blonde hair. Is that what you want? No, but I don't want to cost you your career. And I don't want to cost you your clients. We didn't resolve anything, just clung to each other with a new desperation. The next morning, I unlocked my shop to find fraud spray painted across the door. Scarlett helped me scrub it off, her jaw tight with anger. This is exactly what I was afraid of, I said, wringing out a soapy rag. Small minds, big consequences. We're not doing anything wrong, she insisted. But we both felt it, the weight of visibility in a place where too many eyes were watching. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a weather alert. A tropical storm was building in the Gulf, expected to hit Mobile by evening. I considered closing early but had one last appointment, a new client named Marcus. He entered my shop with a confidence that immediately put me on edge. You're the psychic dating the Chronicle reporter, he said instead of a greeting. I read tarot. And my personal life isn't relevant to your reading. I gestured to the chair across from me. He sat, smiling too broadly. Actually, I'm more interested in a quote. I'm doing a piece for the Conservative Daily about moral decline in small businesses. My blood froze. Please leave. Just a few questions. Now. I stood, pointing to the door. After he left, I called Scarlett, hands shaking. It's getting worse. Come to my place tonight, she said. The storm's going to be bad anyway. You shouldn't be alone. By the time I arrived at her loft, rain was already lashing sideways against the windows. The wind howled between downtown buildings, creating an eerie urban canyon effect. Weather alerts kept interrupting the local news broadcasts Scarlett had on. Category 2 by landfall, the meteorologist warned. Scarlett pulled me against her on the couch. At least the storm gave us an excuse to hide away. Her lips found mine, soft and searching. It still amazed me how naturally we fit together, how right it felt when her hands traced paths along my body. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. In the sudden darkness, thunder shook the building. I've got candles, she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. By candlelight, we created our own sanctuary from both the literal and figurative storms. Her skin glowed golden in the flickering light as clothing fell away. Each touch was a revelation, each sigh a prayer. I think I'm falling in love with you, she confessed against my neck. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside her apartment, we found shelter in each other's arms. Mobile could whisper all it wanted. In that moment, nothing else existed, just her hands, my lips, our bodies learning each other by candlelight. The windows rattled with another thunderclap as I whispered, I know I'm falling in love with you. Renaissance of Mobile's mystical underground, scams, schemes, and the gullible minds who fund them. The headline screamed from the newspaper stand outside my favorite coffee shop. My own face stared back at me from page 1, a candid shot taken through my shop window, caught mid-reading with a client. The byline wasn't Scarlett's, but her colleague, Thomas Whitman. My hands trembled so badly I could barely insert coins into the machine. The paper unfurled like a verdict. Inside was a brutal takedown of fortune tellers, with me as the prime example. He quoted my clients, describing how I preyed on grief and manufactured false hope. Worse were the personal details, my relationship history, including Trent's infidelity, and unmistakable references to my inappropriate relationship with a Chronicle staff member. My phone buzzed. Scarlett. I sent it to voicemail, then again and again. Back in my apartment, I finally read every damning word. The article cited insider information and exclusive access to readings. Details only someone who had been in my shop would know. Details only Scarlett could have provided. When the pounding on my door started, I knew who it was. Lena, please, you have to let me explain. Scarlett's voice cracked with desperation. I yanked the door open. Explain what? How you gathered intel for your colleague while sleeping with me. She looked terrible, red-rimmed eyes, hair hastily pulled back. I didn't know he was writing this. Those were my original notes, from before. Before what? Before you decided to fuck me instead of expose me? The words tasted like poison. That's not fair. She pushed past me into the apartment. Thomas took my research files. I never gave him permission. Your research files shouldn't have existed at all, not after everything. My voice broke. Was any of it real? All of it. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Lena, I love you. The article I published proved that. And your notes proved what you really thought. That I'm a fraud. A predator. Those notes were from before I knew you. Before I understood. I turned away, unable to look at her. On my table lay my tarot deck. The card showing on top was the Tower, destruction, revelation, painful truth, the universe's cosmic joke. You should leave, I whispered. I'm going to fix this. Her voice hardened with determination. Thomas had no right. I've already spoken to my editor. There's nothing to fix. The damage is done. A client texted while Scarlett was still pleading her case, canceling all future appointments, disgusted to learn the truth. Then another. And another. My phone buzzed with the death knell of my business. Just go, I said, suddenly exhausted. After she left, I sat alone in my apartment, cards spread before me. For the first time since I was 16, I couldn't feel their energy, couldn't hear their whispers. The connection was severed by betrayal. 2 days passed in a haze. I didn't open my shop, didn't answer calls, just sat with my grief for what I'd lost, my livelihood, my reputation, my heart. On the third day, Mrs. Clarkson knocked on my apartment door. I don't do house calls, I said flatly when I answered. I'm not here for a reading, dear. She held up a casserole dish. May I come in? I stepped aside, too numb to refuse. She surveyed my disheveled appearance with grandmotherly concern. You haven't been eating. Why are you here? The article was garbage, she interrupted, setting down the casserole. I've been coming to you for 2 years. You helped me through the darkest time of my life. Some hit piece won't change that. Tears spilled before I could stop them. She pulled me into a hug that smelled of lavender and home. Your gift is real, she said firmly. Whether it's from God, intuition, or just an exceptional understanding of human nature doesn't matter. You help people. After she left, I picked up my cards again. Shuffled slowly, drew one. Strength. A woman calmly holding open a lion's jaws, finding power in gentleness. I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar energy flow back into my fingertips. Whatever happened with Scarlett, this part of me remained true. I went downstairs and turned the shop sign to open. Within an hour, a young woman entered. I've never done this before, she said nervously. But I need guidance. As I shuffled the cards for her, I realized some things couldn't be taken from me. Not by a newspaper, not by betrayal, not even by heartbreak. The cards spoke again, and I listened. This is a formal retraction and apology regarding the article, Renaissance of Mobile's Mystical Underground. I stared at the newspaper, coffee forgotten beside me. Scarlett's name appeared below this headline, her words filling the entire column. As a journalist committed to truth, I cannot stand by while my research is misused to harm innocent community members. Lena Brown provides valuable emotional support to clients through her practice, regardless of one's belief in the metaphysical. The retraction continued, systematically dismantling Thomas's hit piece while offering a professional mea culpa for her original notes being misappropriated. The final paragraph was most surprising. I acknowledge my failure to maintain proper journalistic boundaries and take full responsibility for the harm caused. Some things are more important than professional advancement, like integrity, community, and truth. It was career suicide. No editor would forgive such a public undermining of a colleague, especially in this economy where journalism jobs were evaporating daily. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Clarkson. Saw the paper. That girl must really love you. Did she? Or was this just guilt? 2 weeks had passed since the article, since I'd last seen Scarlett. My business was slowly recovering. Most regular clients returned, expressing outrage on my behalf. But the hollow space in my chest remained. That afternoon, a notification popped up on my phone. Community fundraiser for Mobile Arts Council. I'd forgotten I'd bought a ticket months ago. Scarlett would surely be there covering it. I almost deleted it, but something, intuition or masochism, made me decide to go. The event transformed the old Sanger Theater into a wonderland of local art installations and performance spaces. I navigated through clusters of Mobile's cultural elite, accepting sympathetic squeezes of my arm from those who recognized me. Then I saw her. Scarlett stood alone by the bar, no press badge around her neck, no notebook in hand. She wore a simple blue dress that matched her eyes, looking smaller somehow, less certain. Our gazes locked across the room. Neither of us moved, caught in the gravitational pull of unfinished business. She broke first, walking toward me with determined steps. I remained rooted, heart hammering against my ribs. "You came," she said, stopping a careful distance away. "I support the arts." My voice sounded strained even to my own ears. "I'm not here as press. I'm not with the Chronicle anymore." The words hit like a physical blow. "Because of the retraction?" She nodded, fingers fidgeting with her clutch. "Worth it." Around us, the fundraiser continued. Champagne flutes clinked, auction bids rose, string quartet notes floated through the air. But we stood in our own pocket of tense silence. "Why did you do it?" I finally asked. "Because I couldn't live with what happened, with what I caused. Your career. I can find another job." Her eyes never left mine. "I can't find another you." A waiter passing with drinks jostled my elbow, breaking the moment. I stepped back, needing space to think. "I need some air," I murmured, heading for the side exit. Outside, rain fell in that gentle, persistent way that defines Mobile Springs. Not a downpour, just a constant reminder of the Gulf's proximity. I stood under the awning, watching droplets create ripples in puddles reflecting neon lights. The door opened behind me. Scarlett stepped out, offering a glass of wine. "Peace offering?" I accepted it silently. "My grandmother used to say rain washes away mistakes," she said softly. "Cleanses the soul. Is that what this is? Soul cleansing? Or for me, maybe." She moved closer. "Lena, I've spent my whole life needing proof for everything. Empirical evidence. Facts over feelings." Her hand reached for mine, hesitant. I didn't pull away. "Then you came along," she continued. "And suddenly I knew things I couldn't prove. Felt things I couldn't measure." The rain intensified, creating a curtain of water at the edge of the awning, isolating us from the world. "I'm still angry," I admitted. "You should be." "And scared." "Me too." Her fingers interlaced with mine, familiar and new all at once. "But I miss you," I whispered. "Every day." She stepped closer, our bodies almost touching. "The cards, what would they say about second chances?" Instead of answering, I kissed her. The wine glass tumbled forgotten from my hand, shattering on the concrete. Neither of us noticed. Her arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me against her as the kiss deepened. The rain soaked us as we stepped beyond the awning's protection, neither willing to break the connection. Water plastered her blonde hair to her face, droplets caught on her eyelashes like tears. "I love you," she said against my lips. No proof needed. 6 months can change everything and nothing at all. The seasons turned from Mobile's sweltering summer to the gentle kiss of fall, bringing cooler breezes off the bay and tourists seeking southern charm without southern heat. I shuffled my cards for Mrs. Clarkson, now my longest-running client. "You're worried about something new today. My grandson's coming home from college for Thanksgiving, bringing a boyfriend." She twisted her wedding ring. "My late husband would have struggled with this." I turned over the 6 of Cups. "The past informs but doesn't dictate our future. Raymond would want you to choose love." Her eyes misted. "How do you always know exactly what to say?" "It's not me, it's the cards." But we both knew better. Later, after closing shop, I climbed the stairs to my apartment where Scarlett sat cross-legged on the floor surrounded by research notes. Her new column, Beliefs and Belonging, had quickly become the Chronicle's most popular feature. Her editor had practically begged her to return, offering complete creative control. "How was Mrs. Clarkson?" she asked without looking up. "Wrestling with evolution, like all of us." I kissed the top of her head. "How's the workshop outline coming?" "Nearly done. 20 participants already signed up." Our joint venture, weekend workshops combining critical thinking and intuitive development, had started as a peace offering but evolved into something neither of us expected. People were hungry for spaces where skepticism and spirituality could coexist. "We should head out soon," I reminded her. Meteor shower peaks at midnight. Mobile Bay at night had become our special place, away from prying eyes, beneath vast skies that reminded us how small human judgments really were. We spread a blanket on the sand near the water's edge. Above us, stars punctuated the darkness, occasionally streaking across the sky in brilliant farewell. Below, gentle waves lapped at the shore in hypnotic rhythm. "Remember our first real conversation?" Scarlett asked, her head resting on my shoulder. "When I was so certain you were a fraud? Remember our first kiss, in a jail cell of all places?" She laughed. "Not my smoothest move. I thought you were pretty smooth, actually." We fell silent, watching another meteor trace its fiery path. My fingers found hers in the darkness. "I have something for you," I said finally, reaching into my pocket. "It's not fancy, but—" I placed a simple silver band in her palm. Not quite an engagement ring, but a promise nonetheless. "Lena." Her voice caught. "I know we can't make it official here, not legally, but I don't need government permission to know what's true." Tears glistened in her eyes, catching starlight. "When did you know that this was real?" "The cards told me the first day we met." I smiled. I just wasn't ready to listen. She slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled a small box from her own jacket. Inside was a matching band. "Great minds," she whispered. As another meteor streaked overhead, we exchanged our private vows, no witnesses except the stars and the whispering Gulf waters. "I promise to respect your truth, even when it differs from mine," Scarlett said, sliding the ring onto my finger. "I promise to remind you that not everything valuable can be proven," I replied. We sealed our promises with a kiss that tasted of salt air and possibility. Walking back to the car, hand in hand, Scarlett asked, "Do you ever regret it? The scandal, the whispers that still follow us sometimes?" I thought about the cards I'd drawn that morning during my private meditation, Wheel of Fortune and 10 of Cups. Change bringing fulfillment. "Not for a second," I answered truthfully. "Some prices are worth paying." The next morning, I opened my shop as usual, setting out fresh candles and shuffling my trusted cards. The bell above the door jingled as my first appointment arrived, a young woman with anxious eyes. As I began the reading, I caught sight of my silver band catching the morning light. In the apartment upstairs, Scarlett would be crafting words that bridged worlds, just as we had bridged ours. "The cards suggest you're at a crossroads," I told my client gently. "Sometimes the path that seems most frightening leads to exactly where you're meant to be." I knew this truth better than most. Some journeys require a leap of faith, whether you're a believer or a skeptic. In the end, what matters isn't what you believe, but who you choose to become along the way.